How's it going, everybody? Dakota here with a new deck profile on Master Duel. The new selection pack is out, and now we have the new Naturia stuff, specifically Mole Cricket and Camellia. So this is Naturia Runick. Just a quick rundown of the deck profile before we get to the gameplays. But before all that, I just want to mention subscribe, like, comment down below. I really want to hear your feedback, ways I can improve, stuff that you're interested in, what type of videos you want to see. So yeah, go ahead, like and subscribe. Let me know down below what you want. But with all that out of the way, let's get into the deck profile. So for starters, we're running 3 copies of Naturia Mole Cricket. This is a quick effect during the main phase. You can tribute it and special summon 1 or 2 Naturia monsters. You can get 2 if your opponent has the highest attack monster on the field. Also, if you special summon a Naturia monster from the extra deck, you can bring this back from the graveyard. We have 1 Sunflower. This is a non-once per turn. You can tribute a Naturia monster and itself to negate the activation and destroy a monster effect. 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom. We have 3 copies of Naturia Camellia. So on normal or special, you can send a Naturia card from deck to grave. Typically, you're going to be sending the trap card. Also, if you were to tribute a Naturia monster to activate an effect, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard instead. Also, if your opponent normal or specials, you can special summon a Naturia from the graveyard. Playing 2 copies of Fountain, doing 1 copy of Allure. So we can search this with one of the fusions. Each time a quick play spell is activated, you banish the top card of your opponent's deck, and it's also mandatory. This also partners up with the Naturia quick play spell. So anytime a quick play spell is activated, you banish the top card, help you mill the deck a little bit faster. Playing 2 copies of Tip, 3 copies of Flashing Fire, 2 copies of Destruction, 2 Freezing Curses, 2 Slumber, 2 copies of Smiting Storm, 2 copies of Golden Droplet, 3 copies of Dispelling. We're playing 3 copies of Naturia Blessing. So this has a couple effects, and you get to pick one. You can special summon a Naturia from the hand or grave, or you can immediately synchro summon a monster using Naturia monsters that you have, or you can fusion summon a monster from your extra deck using Naturia monsters that you have. The one thing to note about this card is that neither one of those effects is once per turn, so if you have multiple copies, you can just keep spamming this card. Lastly, we're running 3 copies of Naturia Sacred Tree. This has a mandatory effect that when it's sent to the graveyard, you add a Naturia card. So any missing piece that you're looking for, whether it be Mole Cricket or Camellia or Blessing, you can add one of those. Also, this is not a once per turn, so if you send multiple copies, you can get multiple searches. For the extra deck, we're running 3 copies of Hugin to search the field spell, 1 Munin to search the continuous spell, 1 Gary. Sometimes the fact that this card is a level 4 can come up. Also, if you need one of your fountains or the continuous spell from your graveyard, this card can fetch that. 1 Beast. This card is actually really good. This deck isn't as strong as it was in the TCG just for the fact that Master Duel is a best out of 1. So sometimes you might think that going for Naturia Beast is actually a really good play when you find out that you're going up against a trap deck or a deck that's just very monster heavy and they're not even using spell cards. 1 Barkion. Sometimes there's really good plays that you can set up to where you have a Blessing face down and you quick synchro on your opponent's turn. If they try to evenly match you, you can summon Barkion. 1 Stardust, just on summon and draw a card. 1 Coral Dragon. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can draw a card. The fact that it's also a synchro tuner is pretty nice. 1 Draco Berserker, just to banish stuff and to attack over things. 1 copy of Baron. We're doing 1 copy of Changying. This works really well with the Runick stuff, because the moment that you activate a Runick spell and you banish cards from your opponent, you can also use this card to banish a card on their field and the graveyard. Plus, he just keeps getting like really big. 1 copy of Baguska just to stall. 1 Elf. Another kind of play that can pop up with Elf is that if you have to tribute your Sunflower to negate a monster effect, you can use the Elf to bring the Sunflower right back. And then 1 Donner, just in case if you're in a tight spot and you need to get rid of a card, this will pop a card for you. I gotta say that this deck is pretty strong. There's some cards that you can definitely move around. I would recommend, if you're interested in playing this deck, just play around with this a little bit. If you really wanted to, you could even switch out the hand traps for maybe just really strong going second cards, like Evenly. The one really bad thing about this deck is just because Tier Limit is still hovering around in Master Duel. Tier Limit is actually a pretty tough matchup just because the shufflers will get rid of your spell cards in the graveyard. Or if you're trying to get the Mole Cricket out from the graveyard, they can shuffle those back as well. Just the fact that the shufflers exist in Master Duel just makes this a little bit harder to pull off. All in all, this is a really strong deck. I've been enjoying playing it so far. But with all that out of the way, let's just get right into the games.